Thank you. Right now, there is a nationwide alert out for a man accused of stabbing and killing a woman in Federal Heights. Police say they think he is trying to get out of the country. The attack happened Saturday afternoon at an apartment complex just south of Waterworld near 85th and Pecos. Police say that they think Adrian Caserero Vega stabbed a 20-year-old woman there and took off. They think he knew the victim. Police believe that he is headed for Texas and could try to cross into Mexico. They are asking anyone with information to call Federal Heights Police.
Today, the man accused of breaking into the state Supreme Court building and shooting a gun inside is due in court. Police say the whole incident started around 1 a.m. yesterday when Brandon Olson got into a crash, left his car, and shot out a window of the Supreme Court building. Court documents say Olson pointed his gun at a security guard inside, then went up to the 7th floor and started shooting. No one was hurt. Police say he also started a fire in a stairwell. Around 3 a.m., he called 911 to surrender. Court documents say Olson has a long history of arrests tied to drugs and trying to get away from police. As of now, investigators say there is no evidence this was tied to threats against justices for the decision to remove Donald Trump from Colorado's ballot.
Today, the 3 teenagers accused of throwing rocks at cars, killing one woman, are set to be arraigned. Police say Mitch Carolchick, Joe Koenig, and Zachary Quack threw landscaping rocks at least 7 cars on one night in April. One of those rocks hit and killed Alexa Bartel. She was driving home from work near Rocky Flats. The teens are facing several charges, including first-degree murder. They will have 3 separate trials.
Denver's planning to sweep a large migrant encampment along Spear and Zuni today. Hundreds of people have been living there after they ran out of time at one of the city's shelters. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston says after today's sweep, they'll be moved into shelters for 30 days. Then the goal is to get them into permanent housing. Coming up in our next half hour, Courtney Yoon will join us live with a closer look at that timeline and how much it will cost the city.
We are learning more about a New Year's Eve shooting outside the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. New court documents show a family's trip to the museum ended in an attempted robbery and a gunfight in the parking lot. And one of those bullets hit a car with a child inside. It happened Sunday just before 3 when a man, his girlfriend, and their 2 kids arrived at the museum. The man told police that he noticed 2 armed men in ski masks. He says the 2 men demanded he give them a silver chain around his neck, and one of them hit him in the head. That is when he pulled out his concealed carry handgun. Police say that one of the suspects fired at him, and one of the bullets hit a car with a child inside. The man fired back, and the suspects took off. Officers found surveillance video that shows a car dropping off 2 people at a hospital nearby. One man who had been shot was still there when police arrived. Police took him into custody. He is being held on suspicion of attempted murder, robbery, and menacing.
Just 2 more days until Colorado certifies its primary ballots, and as of now, former President Donald Trump's name will be on the ballot. The state Supreme Court decided to remove Trump's name, saying he took part in an insurrection and is not eligible to hold office. But the Colorado Republican Party appealed that decision, so now the only way Trump's name would not be on the ballot is if the Supreme Court declines to take up the case or affirms Colorado's ruling before Friday. Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold says she believes Colorado's Supreme Court made the right decision.
Only 2 courts in this country have looked at the base question: did Donald Trump engage in insurrection? Both of the courts have said yes. I believe the Colorado Supreme Court got it right because I don't think there should be a loophole in the Constitution for a president trying to engage in insurrection or a rebellion against the country.
So far, Trump's team has not appealed the decision in Colorado.
Yeah, but his attorneys have appealed a similar ruling in Maine. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows decided last week that Trump was an insurrectionist and is disqualified from holding office. Trump's appeal to Maine Supreme Court says Bellows doesn't have the power to remove him from the ballot. Bellows called the appeal part of the process and said she has confidence in her decision. Like in Colorado, her ruling is on pause until the U.S. Supreme Court makes a decision on the appeal.
The Supreme Court in Oregon is also making a decision on whether Trump should be removed from their ballots, but that won't happen until next week at the earliest. The court is first trying to answer if the Secretary of State can determine if a candidate qualifies to be president. The Oregon Secretary of State thinks her authority only applies to the general election, not the primary.
Courts and secretaries of states are the ones who make these decisions. But what about the rest of the country? Well, a new poll shows almost half of Americans say Donald Trump's actions related to January 6th should disqualify him from the presidency. presidency. According to the poll from the Washington Post and University of Maryland, 46% say that he should not be allowed to run for president. Another 17% say January 6th makes them question whether he could do the job. But not everyone is so skeptical. According to the poll, 33% of Americans say what happened on January 6th is irrelevant to being president again. The poll happened before Colorado's Supreme Court made its decision.
It is 6:07 right now. Today, U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson is heading to the U.S.-Mexico border. Some other Republican lawmakers are joining him. They're planning to go to Eagle Pass, Texas, where leaders say they have been overwhelmed by the number of migrants crossing the border. Last month, it was a record number of people. The White House says fewer people have been crossing in the past few days. Right now, lawmakers are trying to come to an agreement on a plan for border security.
Right now, Congress is also trying to come up with a plan to fund the government before it shuts down in the next few weeks. And the U.S. just hit a record amount of debt. The national debt now sits at more than $34 trillion. Current interest rates and lower tax rates are just a few of the reasons that number is so high. Some experts believe a high debt is a threat to the country's fiscal health. Others say it's not such a big deal as long as the economy stays strong.
A federal judge could unseal hundreds of court documents tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein as soon as today. Those documents are expected to have a list of around 150 names, including his victims, co-conspirators, employees, and alleged perpetrators. One attorney wanted those documents unsealed years ago. He says the public needs to be able to see them.
A lot of the court file that should have been open to the public was not. So everything that the court relied on that was in the record that contributed to that summary judgment has got to be made public.
Of course, we don't know yet who will be listed in those documents, but it's expected that several prominent names will be included.
New overnight, a senior Hamas leader is dead after a drone strike in Lebanon. He is accused of being involved in several terror attacks. Hamas and Lebanese officials are blaming Israel for the attack. Israel has not commented. Now, other world leaders are worried that this could escalate fighting between Israel and the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. And they say it's a sign that the war could spread to other countries across the Middle East.
And the one thing you want to know about the weather is the satellite shows the clouds moving in ahead of the next storm system coming our way. But before that gets here, lots of sunshine to go around. And the temperatures in the 40s to around 50 degrees.
All right, Ed, thank you. Sky 9 is still over that house fire in Adams County along 80th Avenue, a little bit east of Federal, between Federal and Zuni is where this is. We do have a little bit more information from Adams County Fire. As you can see out here, fire crews have left the scene. The fire is out, but as far as details go, we know one person was taken to the hospital. We do know that one dog was found dead in the home as well. At this time, again, still a little bit of a scene with an investigation that is ongoing out here, but that fire is out here at 80th Avenue in Adams County in the Westminster area here near Federal Boulevard.